Turkey has a very long and rich history. Many different groups of people have lived there. Many empires have risen and fallen in this land. Understanding the founders of Turkish states helps us understand Turkey today. These leaders shaped the culture, the borders, and the identity of the nation. Their stories are tales of ambition, struggle, and great change. From ancient chieftains to modern presidents, leadership has always been a powerful force in this part of the world, a region often described as a bridge between continents, cultures, and civilizations, making its history particularly dynamic. The story of Turkish leadership is not just about one person or one single event. It spans many centuries and includes many important figures. These leaders built powerful states and sometimes saw them crumble. They fought wars and made peace. They created laws and built magnificent cities. The land itself, Anatolia, has been a crossroads for countless peoples. This has made its history complex and fascinating. Each era brought new challenges and new leaders rose to meet them, leaving their indelible mark on the unfolding narrative of this ancient land. When we talk about the founders of modern Turkey, one name stands out above all others. That name is Mustafa Kemal Atatürk. He is widely seen as the father of the Republic of Turkey. He came to power after a time of great crisis. The old Ottoman Empire had collapsed after World War I. The country was in danger of being broken apart. Atatürk led the Turkish people to fight for their independence and then to build a new modern nation from the ashes of the old imperial system. His vision was radical and transformative for its time. This essay will explore the founders of Turkish states. We will look briefly at the earlier empires that held sway in the region. Then we will focus on the end of the Ottoman Empire. The main part will be about Mustafa Kemal Atatürk. We will learn about his life, his incredible achievements, and the huge challenges he faced. We will also see how he and his reforms created the modern Turkey we know today, a nation that continues to grapple with and build upon his formidable and lasting legacy. Long before the Ottoman Empire or modern Turkey, various Turkic peoples made their mark on history. These groups originally came from Central Asia. They were nomadic peoples, skilled horsemen and fierce warriors. Over centuries, they migrated westwards in waves. One of the earliest significant Turkic empires was the Göktürk Khaganate, which existed from the 6th to the 8th centuries. They controlled vast territories across Central Asia and left behind important inscriptions, the Orkhon inscriptions, which tell us about their culture and language. These early states laid some of the foundational elements of Turkic political and military traditions. Later, other Turkic groups rose to prominence. The Seljuk Turks are particularly important in the story of Anatolia, the land that is now Turkey. In the 11th century, the Seljuks, originally from the Oghuz Turkic Confederation, moved into Persia and then further west. They defeated the Byzantine Empire at the Battle of Manzikert in 1071. This victory was a turning point. It opened up Anatolia for Turkish settlement. The Seljuks established the Sultanate of Rum in Anatolia, with its capital later at Konya. This state became a center of culture and learning, blending Persian and Turkic influences. The Seljuk Sultanate of Rum flourished for a time. They built beautiful mosques, madrasas, and caravanserais. These structures showcased unique architectural styles. Their rule facilitated the gradual Turkification and Islamization of Anatolia. However, like many empires, the Seljuk Sultanate eventually weakened. Internal divisions and external pressures, particularly the Mongol invasions in the 13th century, led to its decline and fragmentation. This fragmentation created a power vacuum in Anatolia, setting the stage for new Turkish principalities or beyliks to emerge and compete for dominance. These early Turkish states are important. They show that Turkish presence and statecraft in Anatolia have deep roots. They established a cultural and political foundation. The traditions of governance, military organization, and even art and architecture from these periods influenced later Turkish states. The memory of these past glories also played a role in shaping Turkish identity over the centuries. The story of the Seljuks in particular provides a crucial link to the rise of the Ottomans, who would eventually build one of the world's largest and longest-lasting empires from one of these Anatolian beyliks. Among the Turkish beyliks that arose after the Seljuk decline, one was led by a chieftain named Osman. Around the late 13th and early 14th centuries, Osman and his followers began to expand their territory in northwestern Anatolia. This small principality, named after Osman, Osmanli in Turkish, was the beginning of the mighty Ottoman Empire. Osman I is considered the founder of this dynasty. His successors, like his son Orhan, continued to expand, capturing key Byzantine cities and establishing a strong military and administrative structure. They were driven by a combination of religious zeal, a desire for conquest, and astute political maneuvering. The Ottoman Empire grew rapidly. In 1453, Sultan Mehmed II, known as Mehmed the Conqueror, achieved a monumental victory. He captured Constantinople, the capital of the Byzantine Empire. This event marked the end of the Byzantine Empire and established the Ottomans as a major world power. Constantinople was renamed Istanbul and became the new Ottoman capital. For centuries, the Ottoman Empire continued to expand, controlling vast territories in Southeast Europe, North Africa, and the Middle East. It was a truly global empire, a dominant force in the Mediterranean world and beyond. The empire was known for its sophisticated administration. The Sultan was the supreme ruler, but he was assisted by a complex bureaucracy headed by the Grand Vizier. The Ottomans developed a strong military, particularly the Janissaries, an elite infantry corps. The empire was multi-ethnic and multi-religious. While Islam was the state religion, other religious communities like Christians and Jews were allowed to practice their faith under the millet system, which granted them a degree of autonomy in their own affairs. This system for a long time allowed for relative stability across its diverse lands. The Ottoman Empire reached its peak under rulers like Suleiman the Magnificent in the 16th century. This period saw great achievements in law, art, architecture, and literature. Ottoman culture was rich and vibrant, blending influences from the various peoples within its borders. Cities like Istanbul, Cairo, and Damascus flourished as centers of trade and learning. The empire controlled key trade routes, contributing to its wealth and power. For many hundreds of years, the Ottomans were a dominant force, shaping the political and cultural landscape of a vast region of the world. By the 18th and 19th centuries, the once mighty Ottoman Empire began to face serious problems. It started to lose its military and economic edge compared to the rapidly industrializing powers of Europe. Internally, there were issues with corruption, succession struggles, and resistance to reforms from conservative elements. Externally, rising nationalist movements among the empire's diverse ethnic groups in the Balkans led to rebellions and wars of independence. European powers, eager to expand their own influence, often interfered in Ottoman affairs and seized territories. This period led to the empire being labeled the sick man of Europe. Several attempts were made to modernize the Ottoman state and military during the 19th century. This period of reform was known as the Tanzimat. New laws were introduced, the administration was reorganized, and efforts were made to create a more modern education system. However, these reforms were often too slow or incomplete. They faced opposition from those who feared losing their traditional privileges. The empire continued to lose territory. Wars with Russia were particularly damaging, and regions like Egypt gained de facto independence, further weakening central control and diminishing imperial prestige. The early 20th century brought more turmoil. The Young Turk Revolution in 1908 aimed to restore the constitution and further modernize the state. However, the political situation remained unstable. The empire fought in the Balkan Wars of 1912 to 1913, losing almost all its remaining European territories. Then came World War I. The Ottoman Empire joined the Central Powers, Germany and Austria-Hungary. This decision proved disastrous. The war stretched the empire's resources to breaking point and led to immense suffering and loss of life across its vast domains. The defeat of the Central Powers in 1918 meant the end for the Ottoman Empire. The victorious Allied powers, Britain, France, Italy and Greece, occupied Istanbul and large parts of Anatolia. The Treaty of Sèvres, imposed on the defeated Ottoman government in 1920, proposed to carve up the empire, leaving only a small Turkish state in central Anatolia. This treaty was seen as a national humiliation by many Turks. It created a desperate situation, but it also sparked a powerful movement of resistance, a fight for survival that would ultimately lead to the birth of a new Turkey. Section 5. Mustafa Kemal Atatürk, the early years and military ascent. Mustafa was born in 1881 in Salonika, which was then an important Ottoman city. Today we know it as Thessaloniki in Greece. His family, well, they were of modest means. Unfortunately, his father, Ali Risa Effendi, passed away when Mustafa was quite young. His mother, Zubeyde Hanim, took on the responsibility of raising him. Mustafa, he was a bright and ambitious student, you know. He decided on a military career and excelled at military schools. It was there that his mathematics teacher gave him the second name, Kemal, meaning perfection or maturity, because of his brilliance. He graduated from the Ottoman Military Academy and later the Staff College in Istanbul, showing early signs of his leadership potential. As a young officer, Mustafa Kemal became involved in secret societies that were critical of Sultan Abdulhamid II's autocratic rule. He was part of the Young Turk movement, which sought to modernize the Ottoman Empire and restore constitutional government. He believed quite strongly that the empire needed radical reforms to survive. His early military service took him to various parts of the empire, including Syria and Libya, where he gained valuable combat experience. Mustafa was known for his sharp intellect, his strategic thinking, and his dedication to his country. He often clashed with his superiors over outdated military doctrines. Mustafa Kemal's military reputation grew significantly during World War I. He played a crucial role in the Gallipoli campaign in 1915. As a lieutenant colonel, he commanded Ottoman forces in defending the Gallipoli Peninsula against the Allied invasion. His leadership was instrumental in the Ottoman victory there, a rare success for the Central Powers. This victory, well, it made him a national hero. He later served on the Caucasian and Palestinian fronts, continuing to demonstrate his military skill and his unwavering commitment, even as the wider war effort faltered for the Ottomans. By the end of World War I, the Ottoman Empire was defeated and occupied. Mustafa Kemal was deeply dismayed by the terms of the armistice and the plans of the Allies to partition the Turkish heartland. He was determined to resist foreign occupation and to fight for Turkish independence. His wartime fame and his strong nationalist views made him a natural leader for the growing resistance movement. In May 1919, he was sent to Anatolia, ostensibly to oversee the demobilization of Ottoman forces, but his true intention was to organize a national struggle for sovereignty. Section 6. The Turkish War of Independence, Forging a New Nation. When Mustafa Kemal arrived in Samsun on the Black Sea coast on May 19, 1919, it marked the symbolic start of the Turkish War of Independence. The Ottoman government in Istanbul was largely powerless under Allied occupation. The Treaty of Sèvres, signed in 1920, confirmed the worst fears of Turkish nationalists, as it proposed to divide Anatolia among the Allied powers and their proxies. This treaty was never accepted by the nationalist movement. Mustafa Kemal and his supporters began organizing resistance forces across Anatolia, calling for national unity and sovereignty against foreign invaders and the compliant Istanbul government. The challenges were immense. The nationalist forces were initially outnumbered and outgunned. They faced invading Greek armies in the west, French forces in the south, and Armenian forces in the east, as well as internal rebellions. However, Mustafa Kemal was a brilliant strategist and an inspiring leader. He convened national congresses in Erzurum and Sivas, which laid down the principles of the nationalist movement and established a new representative body, the Grand National Assembly, in Ankara in April 1920. This assembly declared itself the legitimate government of Turkey, challenging both the Sultan in Istanbul and the occupying powers. The Turkish War of Independence was fought over several years, from 1919 to 1922. Key battles, such as the Battle of Sakarya and the Great Offensive, turned the tide in favor of the Turkish nationalists. The Turkish people showed incredible resilience and determination, supporting the war effort despite great hardship. Mustafa Kemal, as commander-in-chief, masterfully directed the military campaigns. His forces managed to defeat the invading armies one by one, pushing them out of Anatolia. The dedication of ordinary soldiers and civilians was crucial to these victories, fueled by a powerful desire for self-determination. The war culminated in a decisive Turkish victory. The armistice of Mudanya in October 1922 ended the fighting. It was followed by the Treaty of Lausanne in July 1923. This treaty replaced the harsh Treaty of Sèvres. It recognized the full independence and sovereignty of Turkey within its present-day borders. This was a remarkable achievement. A nation that seemed destined for dismemberment had fought back and secured its freedom. Mustafa Kemal had successfully led his people through one of their darkest hours, paving the way for the creation of a new Turkish state. Section 7. Founding the Republic. Ataturk's vision takes shape. With military victory secured and international recognition achieved through the Treaty of Lausanne, the path was clear for fundamental political changes in Turkey. The old Ottoman system was clearly incompatible with the ideals of the nationalist movement. One of the first major steps was the abolition of the Ottoman Sultanate. On November 1st, 1922, the Grand National Assembly in Ankara, under Mustafa Kemal's leadership, voted to abolish the centuries-old institution of the Sultan. This effectively ended the rule of the Ottoman dynasty. Sultan Mehmed VI, the last Ottoman Sultan, went into exile shortly thereafter. The abolition of the Sultanate was a revolutionary act. It severed the political link to the Ottoman past. For a short period, the Caliphate, the Islamic religious leadership previously held by the Ottoman sultans, was retained by a member of the Ottoman family, Abdülmecid II, but without any political power. However, Mustafa Kemal and his allies believed that Turkey needed a modern, secular form of government. They envisioned a republic where sovereignty would reside with the people, not with a monarch or a religious leader. This vision was a radical departure from centuries of imperial and theocratic tradition. On October 29, 1923, the Grand National Assembly officially proclaimed the Republic of Turkey. This date is now celebrated as Turkey's Republic Day, a national holiday. Mustafa Kemal was unanimously elected as the first president of the Republic. This was a testament to his unparalleled leadership during the War of Independence and his vision for the future. The establishment of the Republic marked the true birth of modern Turkey. Ankara, the city that had served as the headquarters of the nationalist movement during the war, was officially declared the new capital, symbolizing a break from the imperial past of Istanbul. The founding of the Republic was not just a change in the form of government, it was the beginning of a profound transformation of Turkish society. As president, Mustafa Kemal, who would later be given the surname Atatürk, Father of the Turks, by the Grand National Assembly, embarked on an ambitious program of reforms. His goal was to create a modern, secular, and Western-oriented nation-state. The new republic was based on the principles of popular sovereignty, nationalism, and a commitment to progress, setting a new course for the Turkish people after centuries of imperial rule. Section 8. Sweeping reforms, building a modern secular Turkey. Once the republic was established, Mustafa Kemal Atatürk initiated a series of far-reaching reforms. These reforms aimed to modernize every aspect of Turkish life and society. One of the most significant was the establishment of secularism. In 1924, the Caliphate was abolished, completely separating religion from state affairs. Religious courts and schools were closed. The new Turkish state was to be based on reason and science, not religious dogma. This was a fundamental shift, intended to create a civic identity that transcended religious affiliations and to align Turkey with modern European nations. Legal reforms were another crucial area. The old Ottoman legal system, which was partly based on Islamic law, Sharia, was replaced with new legal codes adopted from European countries. A new civil code, based on the Swiss model, was introduced in 1926. This code brought major changes, especially for women's rights, granting them equal rights in marriage, divorce, and inheritance. A new penal code based on the Italian model and a commercial code based on the German model were also adopted. These changes aimed to create a unified secular legal system that applied equally to all citizens. Education and culture underwent a radical transformation. Ataturk believed that education was key to progress. The government invested heavily in building new schools and promoting literacy. A major reform was the adoption of a new Turkish alphabet based on Latin script in 1928, replacing the Perso-Arabic script. This made learning to read and write easier and further oriented Turkey towards the West. Emphasis was placed on Turkish language and history, promoting a new sense of national identity. Ataturk himself often taught the new alphabet to the public, underscoring its importance. Social reforms also changed daily life. Ataturk encouraged Western styles of dress. The fez, a traditional Ottoman hat, was banned for men and Western hats were promoted. Women were encouraged to enter public life, to get an education, and to work in professions. In 1934, women were granted the right to vote and to stand for election, a progressive step at the time. Also in 1934, a law required all citizens to adopt hereditary surnames. Mustafa Kemal himself was given the surname Ataturk, meaning father of the Turks, by the parliament. These reforms collectively aimed to forge a new, modern Turkish citizen. Section 9. Ataturk's enduring legacy. Shaping contemporary Turkey, Mustafa Kemal Ataturk passed away on November 10, 1938. But his impact on Turkey remains profound and visible to this day. He is revered as the founder of the modern republic, the savior of the nation during its most perilous time, and the architect of its transformation. His image and statues are common throughout Turkey in public squares, schools and government buildings. His mausoleum in Ankara, Anıtkabir, is a national shrine visited by millions. This widespread reverence reflects the deep gratitude many Turks feel for his leadership and his vision for their country. The principles underlying Ataturk's reforms, often collectively known as Kemalism, continue to be a significant force in Turkish politics and society. These principles typically include republicanism, nationalism, populism, statism, state involvement in the economy, secularism and reformism or revolutionism, meaning continuous progress. While the interpretation and application of these principles have been debated and have evolved over time, they still form a core part of Turkey's political discourse. Secularism in particular remains a key and sometimes contentious aspect of Turkish public life, defining the relationship between the state and religion. Ataturk's achievements were monumental. He led a successful war of national liberation against overwhelming odds. He abolished an ancient monarchy and established a republic. He implemented sweeping reforms that modernized the country's legal, educational and social structures in a remarkably short period. He aimed to create a nation that was independent, self-reliant and respected in the international community. His foreign policy, based on the motto "Peace at home, peace in the world," sought to establish friendly relations with Turkey's neighbors and avoid foreign entanglements, ensuring the stability of the new republic. The legacy of Ataturk is not without its complexities or debates, as is true for any transformative historical figure. Some of his reforms were implemented rapidly and faced resistance. The emphasis on a unified national identity sometimes posed challenges for ethnic and religious minorities. However, his overarching achievement of creating a modern, independent Turkish nation-state from the ruins of a collapsed empire is undeniable. Contemporary Turkey, with its democratic institutions, however challenged at times, its modern economy and its unique cultural identity, is fundamentally a product of the vision and determination of Mustafa Kemal Ataturk and the generation that founded the Republic.